With the 2021-2022 NBA season coming up very soon, I decided now was as good of a time as any to start discussing every single NBA team before the season starts. Basically, I'm going to be going in the order from the worst to the best teams in my own opinion and predicting this upcoming year. And right now I'm at the number 17 spot in my list, and at the number 17 spot I have the Portland Trailblazers, meaning I think the Blazers will be the 17th best team in the NBA. So basically in today's video I'll be discussing how good I think the Blazers will be this upcoming season, as well as how good I think their individual players will do, things like that. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Also drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. But quickly before we get into the video, I gotta show you this really quickly. This is the new diversion water bottle. It's basically a water bottle where you can put stuff like your keys, wallet, and other kind of small items in your water bottle that will make you lose it way less. And it will also just help you to not have your pockets full and things like that. Click the link in my bio if you're interested, and into the video. To start the video off, I want to talk about the Portland Trailblazers on the offensive side of the floor. To be honest, I think they'll be really good on that side of the floor, as last season the Blazers ranked 5th in the NBA in offense, and this was with them having multiple injuries throughout the whole year, so maybe they could have even been higher, I don't know. But regardless, it's pretty clear that Portland basically kept their same roster, and for that reason I still think they'll be a top 5 to 10 offense in the NBA. Obviously, they'll be led by Damian Lillard, who is one of the best offensive players in the whole season last season, as he averaged nearly 30 points while giving you 7 assists. I think we all just know how good of a player Damian Lillard is. I expect him to average somewhere around 27 to 30 points, just have a normal, crazy, good year for himself. But I don't really think he's going to improve significantly or get worse significantly, because when you play at a level that he plays at, it's pretty hard to improve at all. And he's kind of like an older player as well. I think he's over 30 years old now, so I don't really think he's going to improve. He's just going to be the same natural Damian Lillard, second best point guard in the league. But to be honest, I do think if Portland doesn't do good, he might join a different team. But nonetheless, he's on the team, and I still think he'll play at an elite level. Next, we gotta talk about Mccollum, and to be honest, I just think CJ will continue to just be a really good player. Underratedly, before he got injured last season, he was averaging 25 to 27 points per game, and to be honest, I do think there's a chance he could take that leap and average 25 points per game. We all know how good of a scorer CJ Mccollum is. He's one of the most underrated players in the NBA. He can do everything on the offensive side of the floor. It's crazy to think he hasn't made an all-star team because he's one of the best scorers and shot creators in the whole league. McCollum's definitely slept on. I expect him to average the same usual 23 to 25 points per game. Next, we gotta talk about Norman Powell, who really broke out to be a great starter player in the NBA. He nearly averaged 20 points on really good efficiency. He can space the floor out at a really good level, and he can even defend, and he can even create his own shot when it comes to attacking the rim or creating his own shot on the perimeter. To be honest, I'm expecting him to average somewhere around 17 to 19 points and to do it on similar efficiency he did last year. And I think it'll just be a really big help to this roster as a third option. I don't really expect him to improve, but I also don't expect him to get worse. Next, I want to talk about Yousef Nurkic, who had a pretty disappointing season last year. He only averaged 11 points and 9 rebounds, but I think it was because he got injured a couple times in the year. But you would just hope that he could go back to his old form where he was averaging 16 to 18 points and getting 10 to 12 rebounds. If he could do that, it would drastically just make this team way better, and he could be a legitimate third or fourth option. And then outside of their four main players, They have some pretty solid role players. They have Robert Covington, who's one of the most impactful defenders in the whole NBA with his versatility. He's a guy who can space the floor out at a pretty good level. They have Mccollum, who's a very good three-point shooter. They have Anthony Simons, who's a guy who I think will be a very solid backup point guard. I just hope he can show some more signs of improvement. They also have Larry Nance Jr., who underratedly was one of the best backup centers in the NBA last year. You would hope he could just continue to do that for you. They also added Tony Snell, who had the highest three-point percentage in the NBA, so he'll probably help. So overall, I think this team can really be good on the offensive side of the floor. When you have a guy like Damian Lillard, who's one of the 5 best offensive players in the league, on your team, you're definitely going to be a top 10 offense in the NBA. To talk about the Blazers on the defensive side of the floor, I'm not going to lie, they're not that good on that side of the floor, and I don't think there's any chance for them to be. This is due to the fact that they just don't have that much great defenders, and last year they ranked as the 2nd worst defense in the whole NBA, and you could argue a big reason for them being so bad on defense last year was because their coach was Terry Stotts, who was terrible at making a defensive game plan and things like that. But we're not going to act like the new coach they're bringing in Chauncey Billups is Greg Popovich or Rick Carlisle, anyone like that. We have never seen him coach a day in his life, so it would be pretty naive to assume he could just come in and even coach at an above average level for a coach. Not saying I'm gonna immediately just think he's gonna be a bad coach, but it's more likely that he's gonna be a bad coach rather than be a good coach. So for that reason, I don't think their coaching will really help their defense. And when I just look at this roster, it's not filled with great defenders. As we all know, they have a terrible defensive backcourt in Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, who are really bad defenders and negatives on the court on that side of the floor. And that's probably just the main reason they're not great on defense. They also will be playing Norman Powell at the small position. Don't get it twisted, Powell is not a bad defender, but he's only like 6'3", 6'4", and he's going to be asked to be guarding guys who are like 6'8" or 6'7". So we're just going to be playing out of position. Their center is Yousef Nurkic, who is liable to get attacked in pick and roll situations and things like that. He's also not an amazing rim protector. He's like average at best. They have some solid defenders in Robert Covington, who was one of the best in the NBA, and they have Larry Nance Jr., who's actually one of the better defenders for a center. But outside of those two, no one else really stands out on defense on this roster, and that's the biggest reason I don't think they'll be that good on defense. I predict them to be one of the 5 worst defenses in the league, to be honest, and I think that's the biggest thing that's holding them back from being legit title contenders. I don't think the addition of Larry Nance, Tony Snell, or Mccollum makes them any better on defense. Maybe Larry Nance can make them better just because he's versatile and they can put him in lineups and things like that, but I don't think that's enough to make them even an average defense. To answer the question of why the Portland Trailblazers were ranked at the number 17 spot on my list, to be honest, I just think they're going to take a huge step back. I think this roster is really good, but I think their defensive problems will lead to them not winning as much games as their offensive talent will lead you to believe. I'm not really confident that Chauncey Billups will be a good coach, and to be honest, I think it's really likely he becomes a bad coach. And I just feel like this is the year where Portland takes a step in the wrong direction, and I feel like this is the season that makes Damian Lillard realize that he needs to get out of Portland. I know a lot of Blazers fans will not want to hear that, but it's the truth. He will never win a championship in Portland with the way they constructed their roster. And to be honest, at best I see the Blazers being a 6th seed, and at worst I see them being like the 10th seed. And don't bring up the fact that they were the 6th seed last year, because teams like the Lakers and the Warriors will surpass them. And if I had to make my prediction, I'd predict the Blazers to be the 8th seed. But good luck, Blazers fans, because I wouldn't want Damian Lillard to leave as long as you guys had a title contender, but you don't. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Blazers are going to be really good this season. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video, as I do respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.